Welcome to Forum Focus. I'm Wyatt Sharpe. It's good to have you with us. Well, the past year in American politics was dominated by one really unavoidable reality, the election that would end up deciding the country's direction. That, of course, took place in 2024, really ended up extending into 2025 as well. The fact that Donald Trump being sworn in on January 20th, 2025 for a second non-consecutive term, the first president since Grover Cleveland to do that. And of course, really, the political climate has been totally redefined by that, whether it be his implementation of tariffs, his threats to annex various countries, including Canada, and really some of the affirmations with respect to how deeply polarized the United States has become. Campaigns have not just become contests of policy, but instead have become referendums on institutions, on leadership, and the future of democracy itself. The 2024 election was certainly an indication of that, and now, of course, being extended into 2025. Some of the elections that took place, like the one, of course, in Virginia, like Zohar Mamdani's election as New York City mayor, and as we get ready as well for 2026 with the midterms. There's a lot to discuss, and joining me now to talk about it all is Lauren Green, congressional reporter for the DC Examiner. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's just maybe start out with the midterm, something that I'm sure you're excited for as someone who just follows politics, as am I. But I do think that there's kind of an interesting question with respect to how they're going to unfold, because
Mhm.
I think Donald Trump's popularity is something that, for whatever reason, polls, historically speaking, have had a really hard time with getting right. And so, while a lot of the polls are saying Donald Trump is popular in some cases on some issues, unpopular on other issues, and obviously we know that Donald Trump, he's going to have a pretty big effect on Republicans' kind of success levels
Mhm.
in the midterms. What are you kind of expecting to play out on that front?
I mean, as much as polls can't really indicate where Donald Trump lies in the American electorate, I think that that also just comes with the rise of social media and the rise of a lot of political polarization. I think that it's not just Donald Trump that polling doesn't necessarily know how to do right now. I think that it's across the sphere, but Donald
Right.
Trump is a turnout machine with
Hmm.
voters. And whenever he isn't on the ballot, that turnout isn't necessarily there. 2016 was record turnout, 2024 was record turnout in a lot of ways. And I think that whenever he isn't on the ballot, those really just pro-Trump voters that aren't necessarily like tied to the Republican Party in the same way that they feel tied to Trump don't show out as much. But I mean, that's also typical for a midterm year. Republicans in trends in the past historically don't turn out for midterms as much as they show out for presidential elections. They are very traditional voters. And so I think that midterms are often a struggle for the Republican Party more than any presidential year, but historically also in a midterm year after a Republican was elected president. Typically, trends wise, you see the House specifically flip opposite to what the presidency was in a midterm
Hmm.
year. If you look at numbers right now, Republicans do have a little bit of an advantage, but it's barely. And then if you put trends in there, it really does look like it's trending to flip Democratic, especially if you look at 2025 elections that happened this year. Most elections trended to the left. And I think that we're expecting that to continue into the midterms.
Do you think there's always been kind of with Donald Trump this expectation from him, anyways, of unconditional loyalty? And we've started to see people breaking ranks with him who traditionally have been very strong supporters. You have, people doing so on a variety of issues, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who it seems primarily was for things like Jeffrey Epstein, a little bit about tariffs, and really a whole host of different things. You also have people even in, recent days where he made a post about Rob Rayner, and, there was people who had a lot of
Mhm.
criticism and kind of pushback on that as well, which there was kind of a sentiment, I think, in 2023 and 2024. And for whatever reason, maybe it's died out a little bit, that anyone who challenges him is going to get primaried and then their future in the Republican Party is practically over. What do you
Mhm.
think the kind of shift in that has allowed people like Marjorie Taylor Greene to come out and speak out against Donald Trump? Why do you think that's happening, and what do you think's behind it?
I mean, you have to recognize that in about 11 months, Trump is going to be a lame duck president. He's
Mhm.
going to be in the last 2 years of his term. He's not rerunning. And so he doesn't have that same pool that he has to primary incumbents like he does right now before a midterm year or did. And honestly, the past decade since did serve 2 unconsecutive terms, I think that that is a major factor that plays in. But I also think that a lot of members are also looking towards a post-Trump era. Nobody really knows what a post-Trump era is going to look
Right.
like or how the Trump administration is going to bode after this. Obviously, he has some pretty aggressive policies. And so I think that it's kind of a mix of those two things on why we're seeing some of those splits.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Lauren Green is going to come right back with us after the break. Stay with us.